Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen now. I think it started recording. Okay, that's our screen there. Now let's make sure it's recording as planned. Let's make sure. So this class is recorded now. This is IT Foundation and AWS Cloud Training, and the implementation partner is Each One Teach One. The program is codenamed iFACT, is sponsored by Lockdown LLC. Welcome everybody to the class.
Hello?
Yes, can you hear me?
I doubt if you can hear me.
I can hear you, but can everybody hear me?
I think it's a mute.
Can you mute yourself when
And
you're not
Josiah, can you
talking?
hear us? I can't hear him.
Oh, you can. You guys cannot hear me, right?
Josiah?
Yes.
Okay, I'll write him on.
You can't hear me. Wow. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Now, yeah, now, yes, now.
Okay, that's awesome. All right, so we're gonna start the class. Okay, I'll just start all over. Okay, this is Josiah Mezriki. I'm the lead instructor for IT Foundation and AWS Cloud Training. The class is codenamed iFACT. This class is implemented by Each One Teach One and sponsored by Lockdown LLC. And we welcome everybody to the class this evening. Today we are going to go through a part of the program, especially the CISSP domains. We'll look into it and then we'll dive back into solving problems with Python. And before we do that, I wanted to see if everybody has gone to the module that we had implemented the last time, which didn't work in a class, and I made a video to help everyone on how to implement it and therefore implement it on their own and submit the work in the Google Drive so that I can look at it. I know Natalie was trying to solve that problem. I don't know how far she's gotten, and I'm wondering if anybody else did the same and with any success at all. Can anybody hear me?
Yes, I tried it too, but I didn't get that far.
Okay. So quickly,
And
let's
in the
go.
video,
Go ahead.
and in the video that you made, the first part was cut off, so I
Yeah,
wasn't able to see.
the first part, like the line at the edge is cut off, but at the same time, I pasted the pretty much the lines of code. So those are just something that you can live without. But anyway, let's go ahead and do this quickly here to see what went wrong, and we move on to the next thing. So for me, I was totally using the command line. So I was using the command line, and I go and I type in CMD on my Windows operating system, and it gives me this, and I goes down to run as admin, and I run it as admin so that I can have all the privilege that's necessary for whatever I want to do on the command line, and that's just that. So when I had told you guys about the py test folder, what I wanted you guys to go do is to go on Google Drive and download it and unzip it. Once you unzip it, you have a folder like this. You have the folder like that with the two parts that makes up the module in it. And okay, the two parts that makes up the module in that. Once you have that, then make sure that it has the command that you want it to run intact, and make sure that it's written the way you want it to be written, and then you go ahead and run it. So we're gonna go ahead and look at what we have here first. So I have put my folder in C. Okay, so some of you guys might be using PyCharm. For PyCharm, it's an IDE. You have those files already as a project on PyCharm, which you now run by following the run button, and it will run the same module for you. So for me here, this is what I did. I put that folder in the C. As you can see, these are the two files. I had told you guys when you got it to remove this, the PyCache. Okay, I told you guys to remove it. If you remove it, it will now build another one for your computer, for your machine. That way, if there's any other external thing that it came with, because normally you have these two files, is when you run the Python code that you get the underscore py cache. Okay, so when next you run that, it will move really fast. So normally what I do for myself, I change the directory. Imagine you have a longer directory pointing to the folder. So I come here and I copy it, and I go up here, right here, and first of all I go back to the command prompt for C. I do that. It takes you one folder up. Now I get to this point. Now I change the directory by typing cd, and then I paste whatever the directory I want to go in is, which is here. And I do a dir, which lists the directory. Once you list the directory, you'll see the two files in there. Okay, but before we continue, I would like to go and take a look into those two files so that we can see exactly what's in there. And we'll look at it from a logical point of view to see what they are doing, not just copying and pasting, the same thing over and over again. It wouldn't make any sense. For instance, we do know that to create a module, that Python treats functions like module on its own. But the only thing is you don't call the function in the same file. You call it somewhere else with importation of that particular module that has the function in it, or that particular file that has the module in it, as we're going to see now. So if you open this, I prefer to use my regular editor, Notepad++, to open it. So when I open it, it's going to show the line of code written in there. Okay, so this line of code is going to pop up, but let me know if you can see it. If you can't see it, let me know as well. So in this line of code, we were calculating the area of a triangle, right, guys? And we know the formula is half base times height. And to build a module is like every method or every function is like a module. So you have to define a function like we've done there. We define the function, calculate the triangle when we specify the arguments, which are two parameters, right? These are variable x and y. And then we print, we use the inbuilt print function for Python, and we print what we wanted. As you can see, what we wanted is inside that parenthesis right there. We want to calculate a rectangle area right there. So the print is saying that whatever is inside the two brackets, okay, or parentheses, is saying, oh, please print that on the console, on the monitor, or display it. That's basically what it's saying. But now for x, you have to grab an integer. The input will be whatever number you entered for the size, and it will be assigned to x. You do the same thing for y. And after you did that, you have the area, the actual math that's doing everything. You have the area equal to, you do half base times, that. Half the base times height. Since it's multiplication, then it's associative. Multiplication is associative, so it goes all the way through. So we can put it like that in the bracket, right? So it's like doing half of x times y. That's basically what it is. Half of x times y. That's what it is. So because it's multiplication, you can do that. Okay? If you do it this way, you still get the same result. If you do it this way, I'm sure you will get the same result. If you do it that way, you will get the same result, right? Because what it's going to do now, half of the first number, if this first number is a 10, half of it will be 5. And then if the y is a 10, 5 times y is going to be 50, right? 5 times 10 is going to be 50, right? So the same thing applies even if you do it this way. Because it's multiplication, you can do it this way. So you can do this. You can say of half of x times y. So if x is 10 and y is 10, you multiply the two together, it's 100. Half of it is 50, so you get the same answer. So after this, now we want to print the area. As you can see there, we write the string, and with that comma, we put the variable, okay, which is area. So you don't have to put a string for that because it's already defined as a variable in the function. So as you can see right here, once you put that, what it means is it's going to print what the area is. This is area of the area of the triangle is area. Now, if you look below here, you'll see that I'm trying to version this module. So underscore underscore version underscore underscore is equal to 1.03. This simply means that the version is going to be equal to 1.03. Anyway, with that being said, this is what we want to do that you're looking at. But what is going to make this thing happen as part of the module? So you have what they call the driver. In this case, this is where you import that module. Look at this name here. Okay? Look at that name. And look at the name of this whole file. The name of this whole file never occurred inside here once. Never. But the name of the file is right here. So when we go to the driver, the one that will call that part of the module, we notice that we had to import the whole file, which is this. You see, because this file is not inbuilt, we created this file. So it's reusable. So that way, say if you have something that's not inbuilt in Python, you can create it. Once you have the file, you can call it in other places in your code, and it will perform whatever you want it to perform. Remember when we do import OS? Remember? Remember when we did import math? Remember? We did import math square root, and we also did import math POW. So these are some of the stuff, but those things are already built on Python. But this one here is not built on Python, so I'm trying to show that you can actually build a special functions, and they call that module in Python. So this is an example of it. So now this file that you've created, awesome file, you go over here and you import that file. As long as they're in the same folder, when you do this, it's going to refer to that file, wherever that file is, as long as the driver is in the same directory. And once it refers to that file, what you need to do is to call the function that is in that file. To call the function, you need the dot accessor, which is this little dot like a period. You put it in front of the file name and you say calculate triangle. If you notice, this is no longer x and y here. Can somebody tell me why it's no longer x and y here? Remember last time in the class it didn't work?
It's already been specified
It's already what you said?
because it's already been specified. So if you say it again, it's going to confuse Python.
Absolutely, it's already been specified. So the values are in there. But if you put x and y again, you are contradicting yourself. Those are variable. You need the actual value to them. So in this case, since it has not been done before, I put them to zeros so that when the user input what they want, it will now be the value that will go in here. That makes sense? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Even if you put any other value in there, it doesn't matter. When the user inputs, it's gonna change whatever that's in there. But if you put the variable itself, then it's gonna confuse Python. Python's not gonna run it because it's gonna think it's an input. But you already had an input the input declared and defined before. So you don't have to put it here again. You need the actual value. So that's why you leave it like this. So with this being said, you can see that we've done justice. Now, when we finish doing the calculation by calling the function, we now have to print module version clad dot version. That what this means is we are calling this version, the value of this version. Do anybody remember what the value of this version was over here, over in the cloud module.py? Do anybody remember what it was here?
It says version 1.0. What
That's
did
it.
it? Okay.
That's what it was, 1.0. But over here, to be able to call it, we have to go in front of the file. You see the file? We put that dot. That dot is saying, I'm trying to access this, which is in me. This is the file, cloud module dot. I'm trying to access this, which is in me, and the value is already in that place that I clicked on, like that I imported. So they go to that place that I imported, they look for version. That version is equal to 1.0. So what it's going to print is module version 1.0. So now let's run this and see if it makes sense at all. Okay, so to run it, I've already shown you how to get to the directory, which is right here. Once we get to the directory, what we do is we run the pretty much this one, which is what I call the driver or the implementation of whatever that's in here. So to run it, some people do Python and they put the name, right, like that. You see, underscore demo the py. So they do it like that and they do this. They hit enter. So once you hit enter, it's going to tell you we want to calculate rectangle. All right, go back to the imported module. This is the imported module, right? What did it say in the second line? What did it say in the second line? What did it say in the second line? Look here. What did it say?
We want to calculate a rectangle area.
Exactly. Now, the third line, what did it say?
Enter size of the base.
Exactly. So in actuality, you can also say enter size of the base. You can put here X because we are beginners, so we are learning. So we do it that way. Okay. If we do it that way, then that makes sense to us. So that simply means if I enter the size of the base, which is 9, so what the next one? What is the next 9? What is the next one, guys?
Enter size of the height.
Enter size of the height. We put a Y on that one, in it. Okay, let's go back. We put a Y on that one so it doesn't confuse you guys. So we put, say it's 10, right? So this is gonna be 45, and let's see what we get. It's 45. So what is the fourth one is the math function, right? Right here. So we can comment it out and say the math doing the calc, right? So that's the math doing the calc. So that means the fifth one is what? Fifth line is doing what? The fifth line is supposed to be this. What is it doing? Is here. Here is the seventh line.
Yes.
So the seventh line, what is it doing? What is the seventh line doing, guys? Don't be scared. Say what you think based on the logic you're reading. You see an area is here, and I said is the map doing the calculation. So what is this one here doing, please? This here. What is this doing?
Is it giving us half of 45? No.
Actually, it's giving you any value that was given to the area.
Which is 45?
Yeah, but you want to say it as a programmer. You want to say it is giving me whatever the match formula performs and assigned to the area. That is what I'm printing. That's more logical way to say it. Because next time it might not be 45. And then are you gonna get confused? No. You say it's gonna print the area. Whatever the area is, that's what's gonna print, right? Does that make sense, guys?
Yes.
I think that's the way to look at it, because if we don't look at it that way, when we have a little hiccup, we're just gonna fall apart. Let's just look at it that way. So what we do now is we try to run it again because of the changes I made, right? So those changes we must save, right? We save them. I don't want to save everything. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna save it one by one. I save. Oh, this one is already saved. So I save. Oh, this one is also already saved. So that's fine. So we go back so that we can specifically see everything. So you can do Python cloud, or you can just do Python cloud. It will still run it. It will still run it. See, enter the size of the base. It's X, right? So let's say it's 18. Enter the size of the height, Y. Let's just say it's 20. All right. So it's just gonna give us 180 or something like that. So it gave us 180. That's it. There's nothing much to it. We've just seen how it's done, and we're glad we've seen very clearly now. And that's just about that. We move to the next thing. Unless there's any other question, we're going to do the CISSP. We're probably going to do the 1 and 2 because the 5 and 6, nobody's touched it. And again, remember I deleted this. Are you with me, guys? Now, it populated that. That tells us this is how it interprets what we want to do to the computer. So for the sake of doubt or anything, I want to open it up so you guys can see what's actually in there. It's like a blob. You can't read it. See? You can't really read it, but if you look carefully, you will see things that make sense. Like you see a version, you see the value of the version 1.0 there. If you look carefully, you will see it start to make sense. But you can't read a whole lot. There's some things you can read. Enter size of the height. So that tells you why security is important. When you're writing code, you have to practice secure coding. You see here, you can, if you're smart enough, some people might leave serial number, password, or whatever in their design, and you can see it here with many other tools they have out there. So it's good to practice secure coding. But basically, this is how Python takes what you are doing and gives it to the computer. The computer will understand the binaries, and it will understand all these little dark looking things that we cannot understand as humans. So that's what you get. So that's why you don't really have to, when somebody sends you a file in Python, you don't really need this PyCache because it's created based on where the folders are. So if I give it to you and your code is not working, chances are you need to delete that and have your own generated. All right? All right, people? Okay. I assume that you guys can hear me. If you cannot hear me, let me know. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. It seems like you're the only one that can hear me. Can anybody else second that?
Yes, I was just typing. I literally just put the code in
I
Word.
can hear you.
No.
Awesome, awesome, very good. All right, so we're gonna go and do some of the CISP stuff. And we still need someone to do the 5 and 6. Who's gonna volunteer to do that? The 5 and 6. I think somebody did 1 and 2. I don't know who it was. I didn't find out who did it till today.
I'll do 5 and 6.
Okay, you do 5 and 6. Awesome. Thanks a lot. The more you do, the better you get. So we do CISSP, and after that we'll round up with problem solving of the day. So we're gonna try the best we can to solve the problem. The problem we're gonna solve is backing up a particular folder or directory in our computer. So we're gonna go step by step. You guys can see how easy it is. Even if you didn't plan to do it, but if you are careful enough and very dedicated, if you are focused, you can actually get it done. So today we're gonna do a CISSP. For the first time, CISSP is the height of security certification you can get out there. It stands for Certified Information Security System Professional. Okay, is the Certified Information Security System Professional. So it's the height of the security certification you can get there, and it's the measure that they are using to measure the depth of your knowledge in security because of all the domains it covers. It covers a very, very wide range. There's a saying in CISP that CISP is 1 inch deep but 1 mile wide. The breadth of it is 1 mile. So that gives you an idea that they expect you to know a whole lot. All right? They expect you to know a whole lot. So the domain one talks about security and risk management. Is there anybody here who's aware of risk management? I know security people know about security pretty much. But what about risk management? Is it very popular? If you know something about it, can you tell us?
Risk management is basically looking for things that are either physical or electronically, technologically, that can go wrong with the business. So physically could be fire or flood, and how you would keep, and basically how you would keep the business running while these things are happening. So, for instance, if you were hacked, what would you be able to do, and what policies and procedures do you have in place in order to ensure that the business stays running while you deal with the issue?
Absolutely, you're on point. So, who prepared the domain one? Is that you that prepared it?
Yes.
So, we're going to teach the class with you today. You did a good job there, the way you explained it and the way you talked about it. Basically, risk management is how you manage risks that are in your organization. So many organizations out there have a risk management. Some of the risks they cannot manage, they sell it to they push it over to insurance companies. So these things happen in retail industry, even the police, doctors, in IT. It's not an exception. There are managements that is done that is focusing on information technology and how the practice is carried out. For instance, sometimes when I work for companies, they require what they call error and omission insurance, which was like for any damage of $1 million. So that's a risk management for them. You see, so when they get an contractor to come in to work for them, they require that. So if anything goes wrong, the contractor might not be making $1 million a year, but their premium can get them $1 million. You get the idea of risk management. So security and risk management is a key factor in any aspect of business, like she said. So it's amazing. So in the last few days, we've been hearing a lot of it in the last 30 years. A lot of stuff about risk management and all of that, especially cybersecurity and all the rest of them with the malware all over the place, viruses, hacks that's going on, state-sponsored hackers, etc., etc. North Korea and their cohort, even China and the rest of them, and other parts of Europe, the Eastern Bloc, and so on and so forth. Russia, they are carrying out all kind of activities which jeopardizes these organizations and put them in harm's way. So there are too many threats out there. Okay, because of those threats, you know, because of those threats that are out there, the organizations have a need to protect themselves from exploitations, which could come from vulnerabilities. Okay, so you're looking at threats, vulnerabilities, and all of that. So you have to manage the risk of an organization, and that risk is that possibility that something could happen in that organization that will affect the operation of the organization. A threat is an agent that brings about those kind of, exploitation. Okay, so the key concept in security would be what they call the CIA. The key concept is that you need to have availability, that the information should be available to those who need it, and that information that's available to those who need it should be unpolluted or unadulterated. It should be pure. It should have the integrity of where it's coming from. So if I'm a government and sending information to my citizens, it should have the government insignia, or it should come from a reliable source saying that it's the government. So the information should be available to the citizen. If the information is for the citizen, then it should be public. And then if the information is to the public, who are the citizens? Where do they live? Is it an information that you have to determine the jurisdiction of that sovereignty? How do you share the network? Who shares the network? So these are some of the questions that comes when you talk about the tenets of security. Whenever you hear tenets of security, they are CIA, or canons of security, they are CIA. So the C is the confidentiality. Okay, the C is the confidentiality, meaning that, so if a business is processing sensitive information, then that information should be only available. Uh, it should be for those, and I need to know, it should be for those who is made for. Okay. So now information is confidential because I want this information to go to the cloud movement object, which is the room. That information is confidential because it went to that class, and it's for that class, and the class was able to get it. And then that information is confidential because it's between myself and the class. And now the integrity is that the information that I communicated to the class was not polluted. Maybe I said the class is going to be at 6:30, and some of you guys, or all of you guys, getting a message that says the class will be at 4:30. If it's proven that I sent 6:30 and I can prove from my end it's 6:30, then it simply means that somebody changed the information. In that case, I don't have integrity to the information that I'm sending. Now, if the information is for the public, the information that's for public is for public, right? It's available to the public. Now, I take the information that's for public and I've sent it to people with clearance restricted. So the public cannot see that information. Therefore, that information is no longer available to the people it's supposed to be available to. That's what you call availability. So when you have a denial of service, it affects availability of information. When you have a hacker hack into your system and do man in the middle, it affects the confidentiality and integrity of data. You see how these things work? So that's why those three are the tenets of security. And moving over, if Natalie is there, can you talk a little bit about governance for us?
Um, okay, so governance is basically exactly like how you would intend to um, implement your policies. So basically, how do you implement your privacy policy? How do you implement your financial policy? How do you implement your GDPR? So it's things like on your website, it's ensuring that you have like the little pop-up that says that allows people to select which cookies that they want to enable, or it might be like having giving your clients the opportunity to unsubscribe from a mailing list and things like that. That would be governance. Like, what is it that you do in order to make sure your policies are enforced, and how do you review them and make sure that they're working, and what needs to be kept, what needs to be changed, I think.
Okay, that's awesome. So basically, that governance is the strategy an organization uses to perform discipline and provide foundation to define measures, tactics, and progress towards some of their objectives. And now, remember, some of the objectives that companies have must obey legislature. That means they must obey certain rules and statutes in the state, in the country, and also they must comply with some international stuff like GDPR, that's international, CCPA, that's the state California version of GDPR, and all of that. There's a HIPAA, which is here in the US. I'm sure the Europeans have their own. There's PCI DSS, which is all over the world. That's international for pay card information data security system. So they have all this kind of what they call statutes, laws, regulations. To be honest, statutes, laws, and principle or whatever they fall under regulation. Then you have the compliances like GDPR and etc. and etc. So whatever strategy that an organization have has to be in line with all these. A strategy, an organizational strategies cannot go above the laws of the land, and it cannot go above the international standard that are set out. And so the organization will find a way to appease, to be at peace. That's what appease means with all these measures that's out there. So when you read the document on governance, you can start to recognize. So you integrating strategy into an overall governance, regulation, compliance capability ensures that activities are aligned with risk management, governance management, governance management, legal, finance, IT, and even the culture in the organization. So some culture in the organization you dress down. Some cultures in the organization you don't wear hoodie to enter the premises. Some organization you're not gonna be casual to enter the premises. They have different cultures. Some organization you can't play any of these games in there. So these goes into the governance of an organization, so that when you're reading the profile of an organization or what they call fact sheets, you have all this information about life in that company. How is it? How it works, and all of that. So that brings us over to compliance. So in the part of the compliance and ethics. Um, Something that, well, a lot of people know about ethics, but compliance sometimes are overlooked. Compliance and ethics professionals help an organization stay within mandatory and voluntary boundaries as the business drives toward objectives. So you have the compliance and ethics professionals. The skill, the whatever policy that those two drives will help an organization stay within mandatory and voluntary boundaries as the business drive towards their objectives. Well, generally, um, private industries or private organizations, they are driven to make money. Whatever that objective is, then they have to be in line with all this stuff that we're talking about. Okay, so some of the how mandatory boundaries, like the legal requirements, which voluntary boundaries are there, like company values, then policies. You have policies, procedures, and you have codes of conduct and other contractual obligations, like NDC, non-disclosure, non-circumvention, not NDCD. Yeah, I think it's NDNC, something like that. That's what the document is. So to achieve and cover these areas of the boundaries for an organization to run effectively, they have to introduce compliance programs or corporate compliance program. These addresses the boundaries within the management and action and controls pretty much. So when you hear about this, what comes to mind? Compliance, when it comes to mind, is, oh, okay, I'm going to operate my organization within certain boundaries that are set aside in line with company values, policies, procedures, codes, and conduct. And all these things, when you have policies, policy defines what, what, what policy. When you see policy is what needs to be done. Procedures, how those things are to be done. So these are statements that tells you how the policies are to be carried out. That's the bottom line. They'll tell you how the policies are to be carried out. So now we're moving over to the ethics. So we'll have Natalie again talk to us about ethics.
So, ethics are like basically the activities within the organization, like basically something like in the UK we call it DBS. I think in the States we call it clearance or something. So to make sure that, for instance, if there was an organisation working with sensitive data such as, I don't know, social services, to make sure that there's people without, say, child or trafficking charges, to make sure that ethically we're not selling people's emails and things like that onto big data companies for money. It's just basically operating in a way that is ethically sound. Like, what are our ethics? What do we stand for? What will we not do? What will we do? What will we communicate that we do clearly, so that both the company, the employees, and the customers, there's a clear line of communication, I guess.
Absolutely, you're on point. So if we know that the laws of the land says you don't kill a child or whatever, and we as a company we support an organization or a group of people that's doing that, would that be ethical?
Not at all.
Exactly. So if we know you're not supposed to do certain things to a child at a certain age without their parents being there, and we are as an organization we are doing that or supporting an organization that does that, that's still not ethical. So ethics is where the human way of doing things and logic they crash all the time. The human way of doing things and logic they crash all the time. So is it ethical for me to go and make vaccines that I can shoot into your body and I'll be able to control you and see where you go, what you do, your body temperature and all of that? Is that ethical?
Technically, it's not, but there's
Is that
people find
ethical?
ways around it.
Exactly. So if I do that, will the person still be 100% human? If now I can control that person, or now that person has an external foreign body in them. Okay, let's just not say it's foreign body because everything that's from the earth is from the earth and we all come from the earth. Let's just say we have a contraption and we just put it in a human body. It's not as it's naturally occurring. Would that be ethical to have that? I'm just saying. Would that be ethical to put that in there? You see? Even some of the medicines that we take, would that be ethical? As an organization, are we gonna be supporting that, knowing that? So these are where ethics come into play. What do you do? You are an executive officer of an organization. What direction are you taking? What are you doing with nature? How are you interacting and carrying that through your organization? How are you guys coming up with strategy that covers all of that and make sure that you guys are in the right track as far as your governance is concerned? So that's that part there is something for every one of us to think about when it comes to ethics. So now we talk about policies. So like I said, policy is just how things are being done. Like you can see their outline. Outline tells you how. It's not a what. So outlining the steps we will take to minimize, counter, continue to function in the face of risk to our IT data security. An example of a functional policy includes what? You have introduction, key principles, IT department responsibilities. You also have hierarchy tables, use case like acceptable use policies, users responsibilities. When you go to the website, if a company has policies, you will see on the website. Once the first time you go in, they will tell you, "Oh, you are either in a public or such and such company's website. Please do such and such," and they will quote you. Usually, they will quote 2901. I think it's CFR, which is a criminal code in the U.S. They will quote, I think, uh, either 2901. Okay, let's check it out. These are CFR for computer fraud and CFR for device fraud. I mean fraud that involves computer. So you have CFR, I think is 2901. I could be wrong. 3029. Okay, CFR, CFR, computer fraud. Okay, it will just give it to us. Don't worry. Okay, it's 1030 and 1029. So 1030 is a 18 US code. 18 US code 30 1030 fraud and related activity in connection. So there's another one involving computer is called 1029. Okay, let's type 1029. Uh, Spell code I think is 1029. Let's try that. It's right here. This there are two of them. Okay, that gives us a whole lot of sense of it. So this one is whoever knowingly without intent to defraud produces, uses, or traffic in one or more counterfeit access devices. So this will include a computer, right? So now let's go to the other one. 1030. Whoever having knowingly access a computer. Okay, this one is actually for computer. I was right. Having knowingly access a computer without authorization or exceeding authorized access, and by means of such conduct having obtained information that has been determined by the United States government pursuant to executive order or statute to require protection against unauthorized. Magic word, unauthorized. So if you're accessing your neighbor's website or network, you're committing a crime if you live in the US, and you can get up to 5 years for doing that. So that's it out there. That's a part of what we are learning today. So now you are looking at users hardware security measures, antivirus security measures. These are policies that are written, and companies are looking for people that write these policies. You see how important CISSP certification is. People get paid to write policies. People get paid to do all the stuff we're talking about, and they get paid boku money. Okay, so there are policies for data storage, security, data protection, internet, and email use. You see, when you go to the internet, to a business to use their internet, you see the warning there. You go to do email in public places, or some, even Yahoo, Gmail. You see the acceptable use policy, email policies in various companies. Okay. There's also a part of reporting for IT security breaches. If you have a malware issue, there's a policy on how to do the reporting. There's also policy review, and then implementation of, security. Implementation of the policies itself. You should also write a document for the implementation of those policies. That's amazing. Okay. So let's talk about security issues that are related to personnel management. Personnel will refer to people that work for that organization. Example, human resources, etc., etc. IT teams, groups, server teams, etc., and all the rest of them. So most companies are heavily reliant on computer software and various types of remote communication devices. Consequently, the HR, human resources professionals, must work closely with information technology personnel to ensure that the employee files are encrypted and the appropriate security mechanisms have been put in place. HR policies can dictate the manner in which your employees can access work systems from home or from other locations. HR professionals must liaise between the IT department and these workers to ensure they understand the methods of accessing data and the rules for viewing such information. So, as you can see clearly, the HR information or database that contains the employee's information should be protected. It should not be allowed to be a porous entry point so that your information will not end up in the wrong people's hands. But most of the time, people's information are already on Facebook and etc. etc. That's why there's a need to build a search engine that keeps your privacy private. And some of those is what we do at Lockdown. So moving forward, let's take a look at risk management itself. So in cybersecurity, risk management takes the ideas of real-world risk management and applies it to what? Cybersecurity. So where will it apply that? The same risk management that you have in real world, the banking industry, retail industry, like a Walmart, they have all those people walking around. They have a camera looking at people. They have other people in various departments checking it out and making sure that if something happens to them, the operation will still go on. So in cybersecurity, where do they apply this? In the cyber world, meaning the virtual world. It involves identifying your risk and vulnerabilities and applying administrative actions and comprehensive solutions to make sure your organization is adequately protected. So I like the fact that Natalie left links below so you can get more information. That's pretty smart. If you go to those links that she leaves, it gives you a whole lot of information on that particular area. So we've just gone through governance and it makes a lot of sense what we read in we've gone through security and risk management. It makes a lot of sense what we've just read. Okay, what are we protecting? What is the risk that a company is taking? And because some of these risks are expensive, they cost billions of dollars, so they need to be managed. So we've just finished security and risk management. We know what security is. We know the tenets of canons of security, which are the CIA. And we also know the role the ethics play in security and governance as well. And we know in order for a company to move forward, they have to strategically outline the governance. The governance strategy should be known, which is where the policies are involved. So the policies, you have the document that specify um, what need to be done in that organization as far as their strategy, and then you have the procedures. You have the policies, the what, and then procedures, the how. How that thing is gonna be done then. Okay. So moving forward, we have done. So let's go over to asset security. So for asset security, the question is, what is an asset? Is human being an asset?
Yes, in terms of workforce.
And then employees must be assets if human beings are. Then are the buildings assets? The servers, the computers, those equipments in any organization, are they assets? Are they assets?
There are
They are assets. All of that are all assets. So since they are all assets, then why do we focus so much on information? Why? Can somebody try their hand on that?
Because data is one of the biggest assets, like for most organizations globally.
Exactly. You got it right. Give me 1 second. Okay. So like you said, information, because the age that we live in the 21st century where information is king. Everything is based on virtual online operation. So therefore, it happens that people are leaving a lot more footprints on the internet. Therefore, big techs are making money from these information. So it is really, really important to look at information as an asset. As a matter of fact, it's the most important asset to any company nowadays. You see? So the information moves through the company's information systems. Some people call it different names, like information resource, uh, no, inventory resource, no, information information or inventory resource information system, something like that. Some people have weird names for the repository of their information or data. Okay, so the key elements in this for asset security, the key elements we have to look into will include data management, and that will be the maintenance and of the data and determining the data ownership. You maintain the data, meaning that you make sure the data is not polluted or corrupted, either virtually or as far as the integrity of it, as far as the confidence that's built in that data. And also, you have to make sure of the owner of it, so that if anything happens, you know who originated that data. So that's what we talk about data management. Then you have data classification. So for data classification is based on the sensitivity of that information. So you classify data in a government organization different from data in private. So in a private sector, every information is considered restricted because they're all about making money. But in the government, it's not the same way. Some governments have classification like, okay, this information is internal, meaning only those that work internally for this department will know this information. Then this one is public, that means for the citizens. And then you have this one is confidential, that will be between the levels in the HR department, level 18, level 17, level 21. There's different information each level shares with other level, so that could be confidential. Then restricted would be public charge, like public trust, like you have to have certain clearance, either as a public trust or you have to go through the NOC clearance, secret clearance, top secret clearance. So that's what restriction is for government. But in private, sometimes they don't even have public classification of information in private organizations. They just have, okay, this is internal, restricted, confidential. Or they just have, this is just internal and restricted. So that's private organization. That's how they roll with data classification. But so when you look at data classification, it refers to the lifecycle control, specification, storage, and archiving of data. When you hear lifecycle, it means from the inception of whatever you wanted to do to the end of it, meaning you stopped using it for what you intended for it. So what do you do with it now? Do you destroy it? Do you archive it? When you archive it, you know we're talking about virtual, not physical. When you archive it, do you encrypt them? If you encrypt them, how many years will it be encrypted till you completely remove it? So when you are doing that, you also have to be looking at GDP. Oh, these are general data protection regulations coming out of Europe. They have right to forget, or right to forgotten. So the right to forgotten has clauses, interesting clauses that are saying that if I am your patient, you are my doctor, and you need specific information, just just about specific the right data to give me services. For example, if I'm from London, maybe I have social insurance number and I will give it to you. And I have maybe my card for health insurance and I'll give it to you. Maybe I have my first name and last name and my date of birth and I give you all of that. That my social card or whatever guarantees that you get paid. So Canada and Britain should be the same way. So I give you that. That's what you need to serve me. Okay. Now, if you do not remove that information after a certain period of time, I myself that gave you that information will demand that you remove it. That's the law in Europe. As long as you finish that transaction and I have given you exactly what you need to serve me, give me the service, you should destroy that information. But they don't. That's why you have the right to forgotten. The person, like the client, the person that's asking for the service, can now ask for that information to be removed. Okay? So when you talk about data classification, private enterprises have a different way of doing it, and they are very pervasive with it because it makes them money. But the government have a different way to do it. So as you can see in the GDPR, the government are more lenient to protect their own people. And the reason why most of the government are doing that because they see foreign companies building this behemoth of tech companies, which uh, feed off people's information. So if you go to Brussels, Brussels are suing Facebook. Why are they doing that? GDPR came out of Europe. Why is Europe doing that? Because the tech companies are not European. Most of them are not, but they might be American or whatever. But these are some of the measures that are put in place to protect their people. Their people need to get a job. They don't want their information out there so that it will be used against them. You know, all those kind of stuff they are doing by passing GDPR. Okay, so there are three main types of data classification that are considered industry-wide. Okay, they have the content-based. Okay, and there's also context-based. Okay, and there's also user-based. So let's look at the content-based. So this classification, the content-based is like you have a can of something. You open the can and you're looking at what is the content of the can. Like if I bought a Coke can, I should be able to have the Coke, and I know what it looks like. It's very spirited liquid, and it's dark or black or with some tint of red or whatever. So that's a content-based classification. Okay, that's a content-based classification. You have also a context-based classification. So you are looking at the location or the creator, among other things. That's the classification they usually use for malwares or viruses. You're looking at where is this virus from? When was the first time it appeared? Which RIR registry registry? I mean, which information registry did it? Regional information registry did it first appear at? So they are looking at all of that kind of stuff. Okay. So there are also indirect indicators of sensitive information coming out of it. In this sense, now, in this sense of fighting malware and whatnot, there are some sensitive information you can gather from all these footprint that's left online. So the context is looked at, which is very indirect. Looking at instead of looking at the content, you're looking at the context, meaning the things that wraps around it. Location, who did it, who wrote it, if there's any hash footprints, I mean, if there's any hash deposit in virus total or other TIC engines, threat intelligence cloud that have the hashes that's pointing it to being a bad thing. These are context based, but we also have user based classification. So when you're classifying stuff, you take this into consideration. The basic classification is based on it has a lot to do with the sensitivity of the information. And in the private industry, they can classify whether they are contextually do with content based or user based. They can do a restriction. They can do public, eternal, confidential, and you know public, eternal, confidential, and restricted. They can go either way for government. Then the private are very different. Okay, they hardly have four. They usually will have three, and they can also do user-based classification. User-based classification depends on manual end user selection of each document. User-based classification relies on user knowledge, discretion at creation, edit, review, or dissemination to flag sensitive documents. So this part of the data classification uh, uh, type will require awareness or what we call education to the end users. The weakest link in security are usually the weakest link in security is usually the human factor. That's the weakest link. Okay. So the user base will look at content, context, and other things. Okay, so it can also be right or wrong depending on the person. Okay, and the business need of and the data type too. The data type. Okay, types of data classified data classification is different from this other classification we're talking about. So the data classification, there are types to data classification. When you talk about data classification, data could be classified as what I told you, restricted and all that. But the content, there are content-based classification, context-based classification, and user-based classification. They take all of that into consideration. Okay. So moving forward, we're gonna do data security controls. So data security controls sometimes are referred to longevity and use. The security access, sharing, publishing of data comes under the umbrella of data security controls. So the key word here is controls. In addition to the aforementioned practices, data at rest, there's data at rest. Can somebody tell me what is data at rest?
It's the data that is sitting on a hard drive or an S3.
Exactly. Those are data at rest. These are data that are sitting somewhere in S3, all those places, database, etc. These are data at rest. They are not moving. They're not going nowhere. So, what is data in transit or transient data?
So I believe
I guess that will be data in motion.
That will be data in motion. Okay. So there's also data tailoring and scoping. Okay. So data tailoring will refer to the changes that are made to this data, and data scoping will refer to change. Data can change over time. It can change. Maybe you are doing classifying it as context based, but things have changed. It falls into another one. So the total data classification of let's say you have the restricted data, you have this data, internal or public, that could also change. That scoping of data, you scope it, you look at it from a bigger picture. What could it be? So you're changing that. So that's where those ones fall into data tailoring and scoping. So
Josiah, could it be like because of COVID now, like people like may have to like disclose like their body temperature or pre-existing conditions more than before? Would that be like scoping and tailoring where before it wouldn't have needed to be disclosed certain things, but now you might have to?
you talk about personal health information.
Yeah, like because before, like some things you could keep to yourself, but in light of COVID now, it might be more of a cultural thing now, a social thing, to have to disclose certain conditions because of COVID. Would that be like tailoring and scoping because it's like you reviewing in the scope under the
I,
scope
I,
of like COVID?
I would think so because the hospitals and stuff might not have the opportunity to do the visuals, the graph, and all that with people's information. They have a lot of it now, so they could be tailoring and scoping it, and they could be saying, "Oh, with this information we gathered, maybe next 2 weeks the COVID will rise." So that one is in order because
Okay.
those kind of information could be in the database, and they could also be traveling. And then whoever intercepts that information can tailor it and scope it for use in the future. And at the end of the day, what happens to this information? They could be reviewed, used to implement policies. So this information being gathered is what the United States government is using to implement some of its policies. Remember when New York opened? They must have had a reason for that, and that's the policy, right? And they opened and it didn't work out well, they went back again. They followed a different procedure and rescinded the policy that they put in place. So as a part of our risk management here, so we have this. I mean, security asset. We have the longevity and use, right? Longevity and use is the reference that they give to data security controls. So the controls is the keyword. That's what they give to it. So we are under we are doing security controls right now. We are just finished talking about data security, and we've looked at you know how they are the in the practice there are some nomenclatures we need to get familiar with, like data at rest, data in transit, data tailoring and scoping. So COVID situation is a good example of data tailoring and scoping, which could be also
I was just thinking about, sometimes I think in Google or Gmail, like, there's a COVID tracker thing that you have the option to turn on or off. Like, would
exactly.
that possibly do
Yep, there you go.
that?
That too. So they use
Okay.
all of that. So assuming somebody have COVID or whatever, and they opt into that, they collect that information. Okay, they can get insights from that using analytics. They can get insights from that. They get your biographics, right? Information, location, etc. They're already getting that through the IPs. You well know that, and etc. etc. So I think that will be a part of it. So we're looking at the asset management now. In asset management, according to the International Association of IT Asset Managers, IATAM, IT asset management is a set of business practices that incorporate IT assets across business units within the organization. It joins the financial, inventory, contractual, and risk management responsibilities to manage that overall life cycle. I guarantee you, people get paid a lot of money for asset management in IT industry. I'm telling you, these are interesting times. And these domains, all these 8 domains, people get paid in each of these domains that they know very well. They get paid in it. So the overall life cycle of these assets, including tactical and strategic decision making. What's the difference between tactical and strategic decision making?
Is tactics physical and strategy is planning like mental?
So what's the difference between a tactic and strategy?
I guess they're similar, but I would classify it as tactics is like basically the actions that you take to carry out your strategies, like the plan.
Yeah, the tactics will be by the second reaction that you have over something that's thrown at you. So you have the
Oh,
police tactical unit. So if there's an emergency or there's a thief somewhere, they show up, like the SWAT team or whatever. But you have it more as, I mean, not the SWAT team. SWAT team is more like strategic unit of the police. When there's something serious, they come and they're always successful. But the tactical
makes
team is
sense.
just a tactical team that come out whenever something happens. But SWAT team comes out not all the time, but when they come out, you know something serious is happening. That's more strategic. So,
That makes sense.
huh?
No, that makes so much sense.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
strategic. So you have time playing here. You have a 5 year plan, is strategic. 10 year plan is strategic. But by the second reaction to something is not strategic because you didn't even plan it. You just did reacted to it. That's tactical. So most organizations have tactical strategies, and most successful ones do have strategic strategies. But in an environment where things change all the time, it's also good to have tactical moves to react to things that don't need that long meeting, long policies, writing, and all, etc., etc. Okay, so it's tactical. There's no strategy and all that. But the SWAT team to come out, it has to be deployed. Even by the governor, they just don't come out. So that's how you know. Okay, so moving forward, so asset include all elements of software, hardware that are found in the business environment. So when you hear asset management, it's managing everything. So you have the IT asset management is sometimes referred to as IT inventory. See, IT inventory. That's how they refer it to. The servers, the workforce machines, all the rest of them, Cisco circuits, routers, all of that, laptops or whatnot, they are considered inventory. Okay, so they are IT inventory management because it typically involves gathering detailed hardware and software inventory information. Applications are also a part of the inventory, which is then used to make decisions about purchases and how assets are used. Having an accurate IT asset inventory helps companies use their assets more effectively. Do any one of you know about any IT inventory tool? If you know one, just tell us.
Is zero one?
No, there are tools. There are tools. There are a bunch of tools that do IT inventory. You can Google it. I think I know one. I know about. I'm not sure if it's what it's used for, but um, Nexus is used in vulnerability scanning. But then, when you do vulnerability scanning, you collect all these objects, computer objects. So from the definition, it says hardware and software for security as for the assets. Okay, that's what it says. So if you are collecting all of that, then the asset management will include that also. So some of the tools that will do it, I've seen Nexus, it collects those kind of information. There are other tools that I know. However, those tools, oh yeah, there's this tool that I know. Somebody else here might know it. It's very popular. Splunk. Does anybody know about Splunk?
I know it's supposed to be for
I,
log.
Agatha, you're supposed to know about Splunk. You and Charity.
I know it's used for log monitoring.
No, it doesn't do monitoring, but it will give you record of assets which you can CSV or export out of that. It doesn't do monitoring. I agree with you. It's used by analysts to collect information, yes, but then you use other tools to monitor activities of what is happening. But nowadays, Splunk could possibly do monitoring though.
Yeah, that's what I know. It monitors the logs.
You can feed it. You can feed it with other tools which will allow you to do monitoring.
Yeah.
You can feed it into other tools. I think you can even feed it into Nexus or ArcSight, and it will allow you to do monitoring. Okay, guys. All right. So it will crawl the environment and gather all the objects inventory that's in that organization. Splunk will do it for you. And now, if you want to monitor, you have to feed that information somewhere where it will put that information gathered into something that makes sense. It will bring it into visuals, and those visuals is what the monitoring is all about. Because Splunk will flag anything that happens in real time if you configure it right. Then, if you feed that information to monitoring tools, you will see it as visuals, and you will see activities happening in real time. All right. So we just finished 1 and 2. We did well today. If you ask me, we did amazingly well. We finished 1 and 2 of CISSP domain. Now you guys can go home and read more on it. So we start from 3 and do 4, but nobody's done 5 and 6. Natalie said that she would do 5 and 6. And thank you very much, Natalie, for participating and giving us some insight in the areas that you know very well, and I really appreciate that. With that being said, we will now go back to our favorite programming language, right, guys? We go back to our favorite programming language. What's that?
Python.
I don't like the way you said it. You didn't say it like it's your favorite programming language.
That is
Huh?
I'm still trying to get accustomed to it.
So he's trying to get accustomed to it. Okay, what is everybody else saying? We're just gonna go and solve some problems here. They are straight to the point. You guys can go to a byte of Python and go on to problem solving. We're gonna do the first problem there. We're gonna do it together, and after that, we're gonna call it quits for today. Is everybody there? Because the problem we're gonna solve is backing up a file or folder. Anybody can do this. If there's a file or folder that's on your computer you want to back up, it will be the best thing you could ever learn doing practical stuff, solving practical problems. So basically, you can just put that USB, that 64 gigabyte or 128 gigabyte USB or SD card in your computer and say, every such and such time, do this backup for me, and it will do it. See, that's very convenient. So we're gonna look into the requirements, what they are. Okay. So to do this, you have to understand that the files and directories to be backed up, you have to make sure they are specified in a list, and the backup must be stored in a main backup directory, which will be any place you choose to put it, but it has to be local, meaning it has to be somewhere where the computer it can access it. And then the files are backed up into zip files. So you just can't back something up like that. You have to put a layer of protection over it. Zip will do well with that. So the name of the zip archive is the current date and time. That means when it zips it, it's gonna be by the current date and time. Okay, it's just gonna give you Friday. Maybe it's gonna say 10/15/2020 3:15, which is gonna write it like 03 colon 15 colon something something 00. So that's how it's gonna write it for you. Okay, so let's do this. Let's go started. So I haven't done this before. I haven't done it, but I want to show you guys that anything is possible. The class, I never rehearse a class before I get here, just to let you guys know. I have my reason for doing that because I wanted you guys to be a part of what I'm doing. Yes, I know some of these things, but I don't rehearse the class, and that's the reason why I do it is to make you guys think and change the way you've learned in the past. You have to be a part of your learning process. You are making decision on what you want to learn. So as a person that's making a decision on what you want to learn, you also want to be good not only in listening to somebody and teaching it to yourself. Okay, that's what it's all about. So now the solution we're already giving a solution here, but we're gonna be careful as we implement the solution. So can somebody tell me what they are seeing here? If you can still see my desktop, can you guys still see my desktop? Can you guys still see it?
Yes.
So it has import, two of them. Remember what I just said? The date and time is a module. So import time will take care of that. Then you import OS. Okay, you import OS, meaning that there's something built in that you want to use for a specific OS. So you import all the OS utilities so that if you're on a Windows or Mac, it will understand, oh, this is for Mac, and I will get what is needed to work on that OS. So with that being said, let's just look at the program and see if we can understand what this program is doing. So the program, the files and directories to be backed up are specified in the list. So for us, we're not going to use this one. Can somebody tell me why we're not going to use this one?
It's for Mac.
Exactly. I'm not gonna use it because I'm not on Mac and I'm not on Linux. So I'm gonna use this one. Okay? So I just want to do two things at one time. So what I would do is I'll go ahead and copy all of this. So I'll put it on Notepad so that as we're going through it, I can make those changes. So that when we kind of run it, then we'll be doing what we're supposed to be doing. Okay. So we have, it seems to me, run the backup. Oh, da, 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 da. Okay. So let's go and make sure we have everything we need. So this is what the output looks like, and this is how it shows up. So this is gonna be our yardstick to do it. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and do this. So I'm gonna create a new. I'm gonna create something new, a new file here. I'm gonna go and paste this here, and work with me here. What is the name of this file? I wanted to save it exactly so that way I don't change the code that much. So here, so the name is this, right? The name is this. Okay. So we're gonna go step by step. So when you do it on your own, you can change it to anything you like, and you can even expand the code to include other things you might need on there. Okay. So here, I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna save it right where the py test is. So I'm gonna say save as, and I'm just gonna go here and put the name to be the same as that one. Okay, so we can just put that there, and I'm gonna delete this. I don't want it to interfere with the other one. Okay, all right. So I'm gonna delete that. So now I'm gonna save it, and it will be just like that one. Okay, it's saved now. So let me cancel this and cancel this so you guys can see backup VR version 1 is the same name as this one that we have here, like right here. All right, we go through it here. So we know for a fact that we're not going to use this one. So what do? We comment that out, right, guys? We comment this out, and we go over here. This is the one we're going to use, right? So we remove this and remove this. But we have to make sure the directory is right. We have to make sure that there's no indentation, that the directory is right, like that. So see my document, see my document. We don't have no backup. Well, we can send it there, but let's see if, okay, all right, all right. Yeah, we have my documents. Let's see and make sure it says my document. It says document, so we have to remove that my. Whatever we want to send it is documents. So to be smart about it, you can actually go here and click on that and copy it like that. But however, we're right, just directly on see my document. So that's where it's gonna go. So now the backup must be stored in a main backup directory. Example on Windows, target directory should be an E backup. So for me, I think I'm gonna use I have a little space somewhere on D drive that I can play with, which is here. So I will move it here. So basically, yeah, that's just D drive, right, like that. So we can do a D. So for Mac or whatever, it's gonna be this. For us, we're just gonna change it to that. and we're just gonna make sure that everything is the way it's supposed to be. Okay, so now the files are backed up into a zip file, remember? And then the name of the zip archive is current date and target. Okay, so this is gonna be interesting. It seems like this one is right regardless of the OS, because if you look here, uh, target plus os.scp, the files are backed up into a zip file. The name of the zip archive is current date and time. So target underscore dir plus os.cep plus time and year, month, date, hour, minutes, seconds. Yeah, that's what I thought. It's exactly how it is. So now create the target directory if it is not present. If not, os.path.exits. So meaning that if that OS is not found in import OS library, then you have to create it. So we use the zip command to put the file in a zip archive. So zip command zip -r01 dot format target. Then you give a space, join source. So you understand this? So we use the zip command to put the file into a zip archive. Zip archive should be a space that will contain all the zip archives. That's what you have to keep in mind. So to run the backup, we print zip command, and then we print the zip underscore command. Then we print running. Just the running tells us that it's running, okay? So here we're just saying zip command is. So we have to know the zip command and enter it, okay? So from the output, we can see what it is. I think they've already done it for us, so we have to use our mind here. So right here, you see what the zip command is. You see? This is the zip command. Okay, so what are we gonna zip? This zip command is that user running. Okay, so let's run it and see what we get. Okay. The only place that I see might be a problem is here. Assuming that, okay, let's see. All right, let's do it. Let me save it, and then we try and do it. So, if we do a dir, we will see it here. It's right there. So what we're gonna do, we do a Python, and we do backup underscore version1.py. So what problem are we solving with this, or are we trying to solve with this, guys? What problem are we trying to solve with this? Hello?
You're trying to compress a backup file.
Exactly. We're trying to archive a file. When we archive it, it becomes a backup file.
So is
Okay.
that like data management?
Beg your pardon?
Is that like data management?
Yeah, it should be. It should be a part of data management. Backup should be a part of data management. Yes. So let's see what we get here. All right. We're gonna run this by pushing enter. Oh. Oh, okay. That spelling is correct. The spelling Python is correct. So it says zip command is this document zip warning name not match documents. So can somebody correct this for us immediately here? What should we write here? What should we do here? It says name not match.
You have to change it to D.
Zip one and name not match to C documents. So what do we do now? To D, right?
You have to change that to D, yes.
That's right. Absolutely. You got that right. So we change it to D and we go back and we'll run it again and see if we get a success this time. So what did it say this time? It says zip one and name not match D documents and zip error, nothing to do. All right, we go back, we look at the D.
It's because there's not a file called documents in your D drive.
There's no documents in the D drive, absolutely. So what do we do now?
Create a folder called documents.
What is another thing we can also do?
Or just delete the documents that's
That's
in the
right. We get rid of the document. That's not our solution. We have two solutions: to create a folder called documents in D, or we just say we just remove this. So let's do this one first and see the result we get. See, now we're doing something practical. It seems like a lot of people are waking up. Voila, just in Python. You don't need to be the best ever writer of code to do it. You just
that's
backed up
actually
your file. So
that's actually
that's what I keep telling you guys. So we have no choice but to learn this language. See it here? Do you see it here? So let's see if what we have is correct. We just don't say, oh yeah, we just copied that and it's absolutely correct. So what do? We go in the code and we look at our source. We look at our source and we look at what we backed up. Our source is oh, we use the same place as the source. So let's change it. Let's use let's use something else as the source, okay, guys? Let's use C as the source and put documents. All right, because I don't want to check that. That's gonna be too many. It's gonna be everything that's there. I will show you to you guys once we do this. I will still show it to you guys. Okay. So if we do documents and we back it up to okay documents, we check the two of them, guys. Never mind. So first, let's check the zip file. The zip file that we have is gonna contain everything that's here because we use this place as source and put it back in the same source, which we call the target. So when we open this, look at the time and date. Okay. Remember, it says it's gonna do it by date and time, not the name. So I will ask you guys to add the name for that file there too, if you choose to do so, which will be fun. So okay, let's extract the file in this same location. Okay, extract file here. Okay, see, it seems to be inside here. Let me see. Extract file here. Uh, this is what we got here, but we just backed up. There's nothing in it. There's actually nothing in it. Okay, let's go and do the next one and figure out what happened there. So it's pretty much that we backed up an empty file because there's nothing there that we backed up. We just say D. Okay, but let's do this one and see what we get. Python backup var. Okay, we do this. D backup I says zip running zip one name not match C documents. Okay, I see where the problem lies again. All right, let's do it this way. Let's do it this way. We go to C and we look for user. We just can't go to document like that, I don't think. So we go through user and you go through the profile name, and then here you probably find the documents. Now you find the document, right? Oh my goodness, that's gonna be a lot of file. So can we just do one thing that's simple like this, right? Let's back up that facts folder. So now we'll come here and paste this here. This is gonna be our source. It's a facts folder, right? And we know what to expect in that folder. Like, this is what we should see. Remember this. Remember that. Oh, guys, I forgot to tell you, the site is working now. Hello, guys. Guys, is everybody here?
Yes.
Our site is working now, guys. Our site that had problem is working now. The riot. Okay? Okay. I took a screenshot of that just in case you guys forget. So I'm gonna go back and save this. Okay, I saved it. So when I run it, it should back up that facts folder. Okay, so let's see. User PC Unicode error. Unicode codec can't decode byte in position 23 truncated. Escape. File backup via line 7. Alright, let's look at line 7, see what we did wrong. So this line 7 here, did anybody recognize something wrong here?
There should be two
There
backslashes.
you go. You got it. So now, when we went to D, we didn't specify anything to back up. That's why it was NT file backed up. So now, we're going to do facts. We rename this to facts so we know it is facts. Okay? But we're going to say facts, backup facts. We're going to do it like this. Backup underscore facts. All right? So hopefully this one is going to work. Natalie, you really got it. Thanks a lot for contributing. So we're going to go and run this thing here quickly. And hopefully it will make our day and everybody will be happy. Okay, we're getting close. It says zip error. Nothing to do. Try zip R. Fax backup failed. Okay. Zip command is running. Zip running. Name not matched. Oh, people. Oh. That's the way I put the name of the profile. Ah, you didn't understand that it's the same. Hi. Let me see if I escape if it's gonna work. Right? I don't think it will work. So what I'll do is if we escape it, it might work. Okay. You guys remember the escape? It might work. Let's try that, okay? If all fails, then we're gonna change the name, okay? So Python is not understanding what we are saying there. Okay, didn't understand, but we are close to solving our problem. So what we'll do now is we will go to a place where we can do what we want to do, okay? So maybe we go here. No. This is not where we can do what we want to do. Maybe we'll go to there here. Oh, that one is not even on this computer. Or maybe we just go to desktop. How's that, guys? Yep, we just go to the desktop. Oh, shoot. Yeah, we just go to desktop because if we go to C, we can see desktop on C. Let's try it. We can see desktop already on C. If we do that, it will be okay. Let's do dir. You can just see desktop on C, right? C. Oh no, we can't. It's under the user profile. Okay, let's just copy PyTest. Since we're not finding anything useful that we can use, let's just copy PyTest. All right, because we know it's right here on C. Or maybe if I should find something else that's on C to copy. Okay, let's see something else on C to copy. How big is that file on HP? I don't think it's that big. Oh shoot, it looks big. Let's try something else. Can we try? Let's try temp. All right, let's do this one. Right, guys? Let's do this one. This one is straight to the point. Just straight to the point. We just paste it here. That's our source. Control V. And then we just put this here. Okay, that's Control V. And we're going to target backup facts. That's the name we want to target. So we just go here and we save it and we go back here. Okay, hopefully it's going to work. Did you see an error somewhere?
Yeah, change it to D backup temp.
Huh?
Change it to D. Target directory. Change it to D.
Oh,
Backup temp.
I went to see like right here. This is where I went. This is where I want my source to be.
Not C, D, where you want it to be, where you want it to end up, not the source, the other one.
This one here? This
Yeah,
one, the target is gonna be D.
it's a backup temp.
This is gonna be the backup directory.
Yeah, because it's saying backup facts now, because it was facts before in the C, but now you've changed it to temp.
No, this is what I'm doing. I'll explain myself to you. Like, you see here, so the file and directories to be backed up are here. What I wanna back up should be the source. And where I want to do the backup should be the target. So I want to take this file that's here and back it up here. But what I don't know is if it allows you to back up from a C drive, whether it's considering it as a security risk. So let's go and find out. If this fails, then it tells us that yeah, that's what it's considering it as, because I don't see any reason why it should fail. See, Python backup, Python can't open. Yeah, I know why we have this error. Can somebody tell me why? Come on, guys, help me. Why do we have this error, guys? Why do we have?
No profile or directory.
Exactly. We have to go where is that? And where is it? CD PyTest. And if you want to see it, you do dir for Windows, dir. So it's here now. So now if we do backup var, it should be able to give us what we want. Voila, we are successful. So what have we learned now? That Windows operating system, when you are naming a directory, you have to be very careful, especially when you are setting up your operating system for the first time. You see, we have PC space for space people. It could give you a problem with some languages, especially Python. But if you know how to manage and handle it, you can overcome that. However, the most important thing that we've done after the CLI class and AWS S3 bucket actions is the backup file. Any one of you now can back up whatever they want. And you can expand on this and make it do other interesting things. Okay? Imagine you come to a computer, you want to do a backup real fast. You just do this real quick, and the file is backed up, and people call you a wizard. But you put the time in to learn all these tricks. So they can do the same too. So let's go check out the file we backed up and see that we don't have an empty file like we did the last time. So we believe that we backed it up in D. We believe that. And we believe this should be it. And we'll go ahead and extract it here, hoping that it's not an empty file. I should have right click it and say extract here. Let me just say do that, extract here. Okay, so we open the temp. See, you have all of that in here. It has the picture. As a matter of fact, let me blow it up. Let me change the select all. Oh no. Let me see how I can make it very interesting. Okay, I go to view and I go to large icons. So the same thing as what you guys saw before, right? Hello guys.
Yes.
It looks like the same thing, isn't it? So I think the class is going smoothly well. We are starting to do our practical things. We've done the stuff in CLI, we uploaded stuff, and we'll focus on doing other stuff that had to do with AWS Cloud. And we'll do that with the CISSP domains. And we still need somebody to do 5 and 6. We'll be doing that together. Once we finish this CISSP domain, which I believe we can finish in by the end of this month, but we'll be doing our cloud stuff together with it. We're not just gonna do that, like I said. So once we do that, we go back and forth with our cloud stuff, and we start taking some questions, looking at the cloud, the details of the AWS cloud partition and all of that. So I encourage everybody to study as much as they can and put time and effort in it. As you can see, the language is not difficult. You are seeing it for yourself. Everything is straight to the point. It's logical. Once you understand the lines, you put it into use. You don't need to think too hard. All you have to do, understand too hard. Don't think about it too hard. Just understand the logic. It's like when you learn a language, the process you go through before your grammar becomes stronger. It's the same thing here. So the only thing is that we're doing it together, and I encourage you guys to do as much as you can so we can move forward. So I'd like to take some questions. If there's no other questions or anything, we just go back to see if we can do another CISSP so that we cut them down into 5 and move on with our lives. Oh, look, I'm not even looking at the time. I think the time is up on us, guys. I'm sorry. Some people in London have to go to sleep. So we're going to wrap it up here, guys. So we've come to the end of the class today. Today we'll pretty much round up what we've left over with Python. And we looked into a problem solving with Python. We talked about the modules a little bit. I encourage everybody to continue reading on data structure for Python and keep learning more. And I encourage you guys to go deeper into the code we analyzed and ran today and see what you can do to make it do more stuff that you would like it to do. Now, we also look into the CISP domain 1 and 2. I wanted to go over the next domain, but time is not permitting us. We do it another time. And we'll continue with our culture in learning Python and as well as AWS Cloud. Next class will be an introduction of AWS Cloud Practitioner. All the pretty much the details and all the contents. We'll be looking at the guide. Okay, so your assignment this time will be to look into the guide of AWS Practitioner. There, I think it has 6 domains. We'll talk about the 6 domains as we move on. And we'll do that with the CISSP domains as well. And we will keep doing what we're doing, and we're coming up with other use cases that I will introduce to you guys. We're gonna do with our product, and we'll see if we can finish the CI/CD that we started earlier on with Fargate. And that will be it for the class today. I really appreciate you guys coming in again. We want to thank Lockdown LLC for sponsoring this program, and each one its implementation partner to IT Foundation and AWS Cloud Training, codename iFACT. Thank you guys for showing up, and I hope you all enjoy the class.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
All right. Bye bye, Eddie Khan. Bye bye, Anthony. Bye bye,
Bye.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye.